All right, so this is the textbook broker case study. We want to start with the modified building blocks of the competitive advantage of textbook brokers. Their biggest competitive advantage is their location. They have a location on Greenland Drive as well as Rutherford Drive. And then during game days for basketball and football season, they also have what's called Lightning Locker, which they have in both the Floyd Stadium and the Murphy Stadium. Another big competitive advantage that they have is their pricing. Their slogan is literally beat the bookstore. They also promise to match on rentals in the event that anyone offers them for a cheaper price. And then they also have a pick up now, pay later program that allows for students to almost finance the books. Another big competitive advantage that they have is their efficiency. Same products, they use the same products until the new versions come out, so they're going to maintain those products for a little bit longer, those books for a little bit longer. They also have a good maintenance program in plan for those books. They don't let the books wither away or get beat up too bad, or they take them out of rotation. Also, another big efficient thing that they allow is an online order, so you can order it online and then come pick it up later.
All right, so now heading into the SWOT analysis of textbook brokers. So a lot of the strengths have a lot of overlap with a competitive advantage, with being the relationship with the college, the advantages of being able to actually be in a football stadium or in a basketball arena, being able to sell at that high point with so many people coming into the campus for tailgates for basketball events. That's a great location, a hot market. So that local presence is really strong for textbook brokers. And as Charlie mentioned, the renting books, 80% of textbook brokers' revenue comes from rentals. So the fact that they believe that they have the cheapest prices for rentals, and even if they aren't the cheapest, they will match on all the books for rentals strictly, show that they're very motivated in their strengths, so kind of reinvesting into their own strengths of the business. So textbook brokers offers a grace period that, let's say a student buys an incorrect textbook, or it turns out they don't need a textbook 3 days down the road, a student could bring back the textbook for a refund. Now, I know a lot of college students are very stressed in the textbook buying process because textbooks are very expensive at this day and age. So if you were to buy a $300 textbook and turns out it's the wrong book, a college student needs a sense of mind that they can have that mini grace period. So aside from the price match, the rent books, the pay now, pick up later, as Charlie mentioned, there's a lot of different advantages that the bookstore does not offer. So another advantage is the convenience and strength of the store. Just the fact of them having a store by the football field and another store by a college apartment. Now the location that's by the college apartment, it's actually, if you go down the street, there's 2 more college apartments. So every single day, these students are going from their college apartments to campus. They're seeing the bookstore twice a day, and that's if they go to the campus one single time. So it's just great locations for the eye look and just being convenient for the students. Now on to the weaknesses. So a weakness that textbook brokers has right now is trying to transition from off-campus stores to on-campus. I feel like right now textbook brokers are relying too heavily on trying to land the partnership with MTSU. And right now, there's a struggle on being the cheapest rental book, because with the growth of the internet, with the growth of more companies popping up in their industry, they need to continuously drop prices on their rental books. So that's a weakness, as well as a lower profit margin for the on-campus bookstores, because when you are on campus, you need to split profit with the college. So on top of you having to fight so hard just to be able to be on campus, after you go through all that fighting and all that work, you're cutting profit and your profit margins are lower. And even when you do get to that on-campus bookstore, you have a lot of restrictions that you have to be in compliance with university orders. And on top of all that, a weakness is the delivery is not as efficient and price efficient as it needs to be. So now opportunities. Now, the amount of colleges is unlimited, so textbook brokers will always expand. But here, locally, MTSU is the fastest growing college in the state. Middle Tennessee, as a region, is having 100-plus people move into the region every single day. So having the highest acceptance rate out of all the schools, on top of being the fastest growing school, there's just a lot of students that you can advertise to. If it's a numbers game, the numbers are in textbook brokers' favor, and just students are just looking for a cheaper alternate. So even if there's a small percentage going off campus, that small percentage of a large number is favorable at MTSU versus a small school like Cumberland where there's only 3,000, 5,000 students. And right now, tuition and college-owned bookstore prices are growing immensely and rapidly, and will never stop growing, to be honest. So beating the bookstore price-wise will get easier as time goes on, and that's something that textbook brokers already accomplished, so that opportunity is going to continue to grow. Now, we believe the biggest threat to textbook brokers is the online aspect. Between Amazon, Barnes & Noble's online, there's just so many outlooks for students to get textbooks. That's not the bookstore, that's not textbook brokers, that's not anywhere in person. That's so 60% of students use an online access code instead of a textbook. So that means, and that statistic has grown over the past few years rapidly and will continue to grow as time goes on, because most curriculum classes don't require a paper textbook, rather just an access code to do your homework and do your assignments, this and that. So there's no cheaper price anywhere, and teachers will provide students a link directly to that access code. So there's no need for a textbook brokers or even a campus bookstore. And there's a competitive market in general. Once Amazon puts a real effort into the textbook game, it's going to be extremely difficult to compete with their pricing, their convenience, and just the brand name. Because nowadays, with the millennial generation, if you say you need a product, the first instinct for me personally, I know for a lot of other people my age, is to just go on Amazon and see what the cheapest price is, versus looking at a bookstore, Barnes and Nobles, or anything in that stores. So I feel like just the online market is the main threat, because the competition against the bookstore will always be in textbook brokers' favor, because they'll always have the price competitive advantage there. However, the threats are really for the millennials that don't want any human interaction and would like to just order everything online. Now, I understand textbook brokers has an online market, it's just not displayed well enough. So if I think I'm going to get my textbook online, I'm going straight to Amazon versus textbook brokers. Although I know textbook brokers is right down the street and this and that, but Amazon's going to come to my mind when I'm thinking electronically first. So.
Sure. So now we're going to move into a little bit closer to the strategic concerns. In regards to the location, one of their biggest strategic concerns right now is not landing the bookstore on campus. It's a big market that they miss out on due to the fact that most college freshmen are going to be using those scholarship dollars in the bookstore. That's kind of where they're pushed through customs and things of that nature. Also, you have the athletes. I know personally I worked with the tennis team here at MTSU, and they offer a book scholarship, which they take about $200 of your overall scholarship, and you get any book you need. That access codes, you don't have to worry about if you technically have $800 in expenses on books. If you're an athlete, $200, you're good to go. So they get all that through the bookstore, so that's profit that textbook brokers doesn't even get to see. Revenue that they couldn't even touch just because it's pretty much locked up in athletics. And they give that book scholarship so freely just because it's an easy scholarship for them to give. They have that partnership with the textbook or with the bookstore on campus. So that is a large strategic concern, is the fact that they are trying to bid that, they are trying to land that account. Also, another big one would be the increase, I know John touched on a little bit, in the e-book markets and the access codes. That's something that has got to be a concern for a brick and mortar shops such as textbook brokers that does have those two locations near campus that is going to stock those textbooks, as well as when students stop coming in for those textbooks, they stop looking at the apparel, they stop purchasing things of that nature. So as that grows, that's going to weaken their business, and they're going to have to combat that somehow. Also, not reaching the freshman class just strictly through customs, they push you towards the bookstore. You generally don't even know that textbook is really around. I know John personally, before we were talking about this, said that when he originally came down here, and he's from New York, he had no idea what textbook brokers was. So that's kind of a big issue, a big concern with their kind of marketing to that younger generation. That is going to be, for the most part, the largest portion of MTSU is going to be the freshman class, because you'll have them before the dropouts and things like that occur. Also, you'll have what is the Hope Scholarship in that era. where they haven't necessarily lost that, and I'm not just assuming everybody's a bad student, but in the event that we're going to count it down on what class is the largest, the freshman class is going to be larger, and then sophomore will dwindle, junior will dwindle, and senior year eventually will dwindle down to where they are very, very small numbers.
So to combat some recommendations to combat those concerns would be expanding electronically. I see a lot of textbook broker advertising on social media platforms, but I feel like there's more of a push on tying it towards getting views and clicks onto the store website, because although I went to textbook brokers for about a year, I was unaware they even had a website, which seems kind of ignorant because most companies have websites. However, I was a customer for a year prior to even knowing there's an online aspect. So marketing needs to be pushed electronically more to try to compete with the Amazons and whatnot. And I feel like there's a little bit too much of a push for diversification in the textbook broker's bookstore. The textbook broker bookstore should be books and apparel. I feel like if you centralize on those two aspects, on the rental books, buying books, and then with apparel having just a wider range of quality and price of products. Because I know if you go to the campus bookstore, you're only going to get specifically Nike owns Nike gear that's $100, $150, and not for the lower income type situations. However, if you go to a place like Walmart, you're only going to have $20 Russell shirts that can rip very easily. So I feel like if you're diversifying the actual quality of aspects, so if a mother of four is coming for a tailgate and she just stops by textbook broker, she's not going to want to put her 3-5-year-old boys in a $100 Nike polo each. No, she would want the cheap shirts, this and that. However, she could still buy, the $50 polo for her college student son that needs it. And I know, as Charlie mentioned prior to this, with Greek Life regarding those people, and that they're going to want the nicer quality stuff for their tailgate apparel, because college students care more about the quality and look of their apparel on game day. So that's where you would attract each person that's going to buy MTSU gear. You can appeal to everyone. It's not like, oh, I'm a mother or I'm a parent and I need to buy something for my kids. I have to go to Walmart, but if I want something for my son that's a little bit nicer, I need to go to the bookstore. You can get two stops in one and appeal to a wider range. So, and to avoid putting all your eggs in one basket regarding laying the bookstore, I believe that advertising need to be increased at the college departments, because as a freshman, 6 or 7 out of 10 people I met that were also freshmen did not live on campus, and I was one of the minority that lived on campus. So all my friends, they lived at places like the Gables, Campus Crossing, the Point, this and that. So if there's a strategic partnership with those apartment housing complexes to get in and get a face or just advertisement to the college students, you can skip around needing to go through the university. You can have access to all these students without going through the university, so you're not reliant on that partnership with MTSU. And Charlie's going to talk about the advertising of the freshmen at Customs.
For sure. So back to what we were talking about before, the advertising of freshmen is one of the biggest issues, just because you come in, for your freshman year, you go through Customs, they push you a certain direction as far as getting your books, what classes you need to take, and then you pretty much go home, tell your parents, hey, I'm taking this class, and this class, these are the books I need. They run their credit card, that's it. So freshman year, you really don't even shop around because you have no other idea about it. So the biggest way that we think that we can combat against this would be, again, the Greek Life. If we can partner up with several fraternities/sororities, maybe give them a slight incentive, buy them, say, a new 60-inch TV for the downstairs or whatever, a social area, in return that they go around and pass out maybe T-shirts, or they pass out booklets that have coupons or something of that nature, just to kind of get the freshman class thinking and knowing that there is alternatives. It's not just necessarily the bookstore, as well as passing those out to the parents during Customs, because the parents are going to be there for a vast majority of the freshmen, and they would obviously like to save money. I mean, they're not just out there, oh, this is my only option. I know personally, when I was a freshman, my textbooks rang about $560. Since I've been in college now for the last 3.5 years, I haven't paid more than $560 for textbooks, between rentals and things of that nature. But that was with the bookstore, and I had no other idea. So not only that, we can offer an incentive for a textbook scholarship for a year. In order to qualify, you have to purchase your textbooks for that current semester from textbook brokers. They don't necessarily have to be purchased. We can do a rental or something of that nature, but that kind of builds the word, hey, textbook brokers isn't just passing out, free t-shirts or enter for a raffle to win, say, a Yeti cooler or something like that. They're giving something that every student has to purchase or rent in some fashion, and that also goes back to the parents. Hey, if my parents are here during freshman customs and see, hey, you just got to buy textbooks from here, one, they're going to be cheaper, so it's not going to cost you more money, and you have an opportunity to win your son, little Billy, textbooks for the next year. So it's giving that extra incentive. It's getting that awareness out. You get people talking word of mouth through a little bit of social media marketing in regards to that scholarship. Hey guys, here's what we got. Come and shop with us. We have convenient locations. We have an online presence, and we also have that buy now or pick up now, pay later situation, so that we can get more of a feel for what our students need. We can grasp more of their concerns, their needs, and things like that, and better outfit what they're looking for.
Now, the textbooks as a whole, they have a very hot and cold selling point. So I feel like textbook brokers have the most amount of success. They need to maximize in those hot areas and try to minimize their losses in the cold areas. So let's say if there were to be some sort of flash sale, like, if you buy your textbooks the week of syllabus week, the first week of classes, or the week prior to the first week, which is when most students buy their books, you would be entered in for a chance, like he said, of a scholarship or some sort of coupon or some sort of advertisement to pull people in during that standpoint where everyone's buying their books. So that gives you the advantage because the campus bookstore is not going to offer any sort of deals, any sort of anything. However, if you introduce a raffle to win anything from a TV to free books for a semester to even a free lunch, that's going to at least bring in more people. And again, to reiterate the advertising of the college apartments, you could have the raffles whenever people start. The leases end in July typically and start in August. So when those leases are starting in early August, you could have raffles at these local apartments when college kids are moving in for books. So you could be a step ahead of the bookstore and still just be a step ahead of your competition, because that's the main issue, is to beat the bookstore. You need to be a step ahead.
Fantastic. Well, we appreciate you guys giving us this time, and we hope you enjoy the presentation.
Thank you.